As a crafter, I love trying out new things, especially when it comes to my Cricut machine. There are so many materials, techniques, and projects that I have yet to do. So today we're crossing off some of those on the list. I'm going to share with you tips, tricks, and all my findings so that you have some more projects to add to your list that you're going to want to make right away. Thank you to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video. Up first, we are going to make some fun custom magnets using some printable magnet sheets, a deep cut blade, and a really strong mat. You can also laminate the top, but that is definitely optional. I'll show you that in a second. Now, before we hop in to the DIY, you are going to need some graphics. So whether you get those from my free file library, you can scan this QR code to head over there. I've got a ton of PNG files. Or you could do what I'm doing today and grabbing some of my files from there, as well as Creative Fabrica, which is a paid option. I really like Creative Fabrica because they have so many different options, from fonts to images to different SVGs, so many options. And then I also really like Kaluuya Design. It is a website I've been using for years. She's got free and paid options. She also has DTF options and blanks, so there are a ton of options there. I love her trendy files, and I definitely grabbed a ton of them for the projects we're going to do today. Now, wherever you get your artwork from, you are going to head into Design Space. You are going to click Upload, and you can either click Browse or drag in your file. Then you can add whichever ones you want to use to your canvas, and if they're high resolution PNG, they are going to show up pretty large. So you're going to want to go up to the top, size them down, and then we're going to get ready to prep them for printing. So then that way, when the Cricut cuts it, it is going to make that beautiful outline that we're looking for. If you are confused between the two, for this one, for print then cut, we are going to use PNGs. So P, print then cut, and the SVG is more for vinyl decals where you can segment the different pieces. So that's just something to keep in mind, but we're uploading PNG files in here. As you select these, you're going to be able to see up top the size of them. So if you want a 4-inch magnet, you can do that, or you can size it up here. So for this one, I'm going to go with just 4 inches, maybe 3.5. Then we're also going to go up here and add an offset. What I like to do for my magnets or stickers is 0.15, but you can do whatever you're feeling. And then you're going to hit apply. And then we're also going to change this up here to white, so the background is white. What this is going to do is give a nice little bubble outline to your magnet. You don't have to do this, but it's definitely my preference. And then it's also not going to cut out, like that's how you get these little floaty things to be all one piece. Then we're going to select both of these and hit flatten. If you hit attach, that's fine, but it's not going to do what you want it to do, so definitely hit flatten. And then we're going to go and size it then. You want to size it with the offset on there because that's going to be your final size. Now say you get one where you're doing an offset and there's going to be little cutouts inside. The quickest way to fix that is select your offset and hit contour. Hide all contours down here. And then that way when you change it to white, it's not going to try to cut out any holes in the middle of your magnets. They're going to stay as one image. So here's everything I wanted to make into magnets. So we're going to click make. All right, now it's time to cut. So we're going to hit continue, and we're going to start by sending it to the printer. So I'm going to put my matte magnet sheet in my printer and have it print. I like to use the system dialog box because that allows me to select what I am using to print on. And because it is a matte paper, we're going to feed from the rear, and I'm just going to say plain paper. The key thing with the printer is making sure that you have the right side facing up so that you're printing on the white side, not the magnet side. And then before I add it to my mat, I'm going to use these Avery self-laminating strips. I just cut them down so they fit within the black lines because that is how your Cricut is going to know where to cut the images. And once I cut it down, I apply it. If you put something over those lines, sometimes they're persnickety, so I try not to do it. Sometimes it'll work, but you know, I just try to avoid any headache. Then I'm just applying that gently with a felt tipped squeegee. And then I'm going to put it on my mat with a brayer. A brayer is something that when I first started Cricut, I didn't think I needed. I thought it was a waste of money, and I was crazy. It is so helpful to get things to stick onto the mat. Now to prep for our cut, we are going to remove your regular blade housing like this and put in your deep cut blade. That's just going to help cut through this magnetic sheet. And I cut on the lower millimeter setting for a magnetic sheet versus the printable magnetic sheet. So just FYI. Also make sure that your triangle is up in the left-hand corner when you put it on your mat. Once you've double checked your settings and you've loaded your mat, we're going to hit the go button, and now we just have to let the machine do its thing. While my Cricut is cutting, instead of mindlessly scrolling, wasting time, lately I've been playing a fun mystery game called June's Journey. A huge thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. It's a free hidden object game set in the glamorous 1920s, and you play as June Parker, an amateur detective trying to solve her sister's murder. Each level feels like a vintage scavenger hunt, which is right up my alley, and I love searching the scenes for the clues. They're tucked behind picture frames and furniture. It keeps my mind sharp, and the story just keeps pulling me in deeper with themes of love, friendship, family, and secrets. I keep playing because I need to know what is going to happen next with June. You also get to decorate your own island estate with your winnings, which speaks directly to my DIY heart, and there's always fun events and seasonal rewards that make it feel fresh each time I open up the app to play. It's been a fun way to relax, get inspired, and take a break while I'm working and crafting. The free June's Journey game is available for iOS, Android, and your PC. You can find all the info on how to download and get playing for free down in the description, or scan this QR code. Definitely be sure to check it out, because if you're anything like me, you'll get hooked, and then all of a sudden, your Cricut's done cutting and you're still playing. Now we're going to hit eject, and we'll get our magnets off of the mat for a final reveal. The Cricut cut through those magnetic sheets like butter. I flip my mat over and I peel both the excess as well as the magnets off of the mat, and then they're ready to go. You can use these for a variety of different things. I did some with my logo and some craft theme ones for my office. I did some Halloween ones. I also did just some fun everyday ones. So I am having fun decorating and putting them all around. And then of course these are going to go down on the fridge to display all of Finn's kindergarten artwork that will be coming our way this year. Now that you saw how easy those magnets were, let me show you another way you can use those skills by using some glossy paper, magnets, and your regular cut mat. I want to pause really quick and let you know, if you haven't done print and cut before, it will prompt you to do a calibration. Don't worry, the terminology seems a little scary, but you just print out the sheet of paper. It's going to make sure that the cutting is correct. So if you get prompted for that when you're making these projects, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and do it. Now that we know where to get fun files, let's head in to Design Space and let me show you how to lay these out. You're going to go to Upload, Upload Image, and then you're going to find where that design is that you downloaded. So I've got a few different options. I'm going to use this one for an example, Fueled by Iced Coffee and Anxiety. So we're going to hit Continue, Applying Continue, Flat Graphic, and then once it's on the page, it uploads huge. So I'm going to just size this down to like 3 inches. We are going to create a shape to essentially be the in-between of our bookmark. So we are going to add a square. We're going to unlock it so we can make it into a rectangle. And I like the size 0.8 by 3.5. This is going to give you a nice starting point, and I'm going to make mine white because whatever color this is, that's what it's going to print. Then we're going to take our little graphic here, and we need to make the background white. So all you have to do is click offset up here, and then you can make the offset as big as you want. I, for these, like to do 0.5, and you're going to hit apply. So here's this. When it makes it, it's going to make it gray. That's what the offset defaults to. So just go up here with it selected and change it to white. Easy enough. We're going to select the 2 of these and hit flatten, just so it's one piece here. And flatten is only used for print then cut. So if you're making a decal, don't use flatten, but it's perfect for print then cut. And then we're going to just kind of play around with the size that we want this to be. You can make them bigger or smaller. This looks about right. You want it to be kind of centered on that strip. So now I'm going to go up here and hit duplicate, and I'm going to go to flip vertically. You want to make sure, it's important here, that you do not change the size at this point because you want these to be mirror images. I'm going to put this kind of up where I think it needs to go, but we're going to select all of it and do align center. Then the Cricut's going to make sure that it's everywhere that it needs to be aligned. And then the last step is we want this to go behind, because if not, we can't read our text. So I'm going to select my rectangle. I'm going to go to arrange and send to back. Then our last step is to select all of this, and we want it to cut in one piece. So print and then cut in one piece. So we're going to hit flatten. Ta-da! So now we've got a few different options. I'm going to make a couple more and then we're going to get them cut. So now that we clicked make and I have all my different options, we're going to print on letter size paper. So I'm going to have to print 3 sheets and then cut them. So we're going to start with number 1. We're going to hit continue. And then what I'm going to do is send it to the printer. So you're going to hit this little green button. So while one is printing, you can go to the next one and print them out. And if you need to print again, just click the print it and you'll get the send to printer again. The key thing though here is when you're getting ready to cut, you've got to make sure that your right images are selected to cut, because if not, then it's not going to know what shape to cut out. So make sure that when you have one selected and we're going to cut, that you have one selected. Now, while those are cutting out, I'm going to take my felt covered squeegee and add those Avery laminating labels to the top. Here, I think you need some sort of protection if you're going to use them in your books, because they'll get banged up and this will help protect them a little bit. It's not going to make them waterproof or anything, but it will help with that. So I'm going to add that, and then I am going to use the 65-pound cardstock setting to get through both of those layers. Using my regular Cricut blade, which is a fine point blade, I'm going to pop in the mat and let the machine go to work just like we did with the magnets. When they're done cutting, eject that mat and then do what we did before, flip it over and peel the mat away from your project versus peeling your project off the mat. Then that way it won't bend or have like a weird like roll to it. That worked just fine. And then all you have to do is fold them in half to get your 2 edges to match up. I used my little squeegee to push it down. And then I'm taking this magnetic sheet. This is actually scrap, but you can use little magnets from Dollar Tree, wherever you can get 2 magnets. Stick one down, put them together, and then either glue or use the adhesive that it comes with to stick down the top. I found that if you stick down one and then with the adhesive exposed, fold it down, it makes everything line up so much easier. I love these. You could make these for so many different occasions. These would be cute if you're a teacher to give to your class, if you do book club. I also like to put them on my planner. I love this note to self one, and this would also make a really cute gift if you're gifting a book, gift card, whatever. You can put this with that. Super quick and easy to make and super fun. Up next, we're going to make some fabric iron-on patches. These are so fun to make, and honestly, they are a lot easier than I thought they would be. So the first thing you need to do is measure your blank. So I'm going to use this pink sweatshirt first to create a shirt that says, funny enough, create. So as I measured my large sweatshirt, I wanted it to be about 14 inches across. So that evened out to about 2.5 inches tall for each letter. So I went through my fabric scraps and found some really fun fabrics that made me think of creating and crafting, and I cut out 3-inch by 3-inch squares. Once I had all those for each of my letters, I grabbed this Ultra Heat and Bond, and we're not going to be sewing this today, so the Ultra is what we wanted, but if you are going to be sewing, there is a specific version for sewing, so when you're looking at the packaging, make sure that you're getting ones for more like sewing appliques, just FYI. Now we're going to line them all up and use medium heat. I'm using the middle setting on my Cricut Easy Press, but you could do medium heat on your iron. And I'm going to press the adhesive side, which is the side without the paper, onto the back of my fabric. It's a pretty quick process, and once everything's adhered, put it to the side to cool. Now that we have our heat and bond on our fabric, it is time to cut it out. So I am going to use a file that is going to be over my free file library that says create. And with the measurements for my shirt, I wanted it to be about 14 inches long, so I'm going to get it to the size that I want. I think I'm going to do like 2.5 inches for the height of the letters. That is kind of what my plan was when I cut out all of that fabric. So we've got create here, and what we're going to do is we are going to ungroup it here. So then that way when we go to put our items on the mat, we can move them around, so they don't have to be, cut on the same color. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to mirror this, because we are going to cut on the back, essentially, on that heat and bond side. We're going to hit continue. And then we're also going to edit this mat. So I am going to put these letters kind of far apart, just so then that way we can cut on the different fabrics. So I'm going to actually CR in the center, E, and then we'll do A on the 5 line. And what I do is I use this ruler to kind of line everything up. So now we've got up at the top C, at the 5 R starts, at the 5 T starts, and then to the right we've got E and E. Okay, so now that it's done, we're going to do cotton bonded. And before I walk over to my machine, I am going to edit to cut with the rotary blade because that's what I'm using, but you can use a fine point blade. Just make sure that you select. The rotary blade is exclusive to maker machines, so if you don't have a maker, no worries, just use the fine point blade because we do have backed fabric. The other thing I'm going to do is hover over this mat, so I have this up on my screen, so when I'm lining up everything on my mat, I know with the marks like where everything is going to be. I can't show you with my mouse, but like, so I know, okay, C is going to be within the 3x3, 5, and then 10 for the other ones. So let's go over and add it to the mat. So like I said, we're going to cut on the back. That is just what was suggested by the machine for cotton bonded, which is fine. So we used the rotary blade here, but like I said, you could use your deep cut blade, and we're going to cut each of the letters. Make sure when you're putting them on your mat that you have the right color fabric for the right letter. So if you were looking like I had what I wanted Create to look like, so make sure you have your right letter on the right thing. Then you're going to peel it up, and it's just as easy as popping out the print then cut things that we got. Then I'm going to set those to the side, and I realized that I wanted to put an offset around it to make this pop off the pink sweatshirt. So let me show you how I did that, and I just cut that out with iron-on vinyl. Once I cut out my fabric, I decided that I wanted to do an outline on all of them to kind of make it pop. So the easiest way to do that is with slice and an offset. So here is what I cut out. I want to make sure that I'm not like changing it because you want to make sure the size is the same. What I'm going to do here is I am going to go through on each letter and create an offset. You can do whatever size offset that you want. I'm going to do, you can do whatever size offset you want. I'm going to do 0.11. I'm going to do that for all of these. Then you're going to select and go back through, and you're going to do one of negative whatever the amount that you did. That's going to create an inset. You want to make sure you're selecting your original letter when you do this. Then what we're going to do is get rid of the original letter, take your offset and your inset and align them in the center, and you're going to work letter by letter, and then you're going to hit slice. You can get rid of everything in the center, and then what that's going to give you is a thick outline. So real quick again, we've got the offset and the inset that you just made in our original letter. We can get rid of that, center the offset and the inset, do slice, it's going to act like a cookie cutter, and then delete the 2 center images, and then you've got a nice thick border, and we're going to go ahead and cut this out in some purple vinyl. So I cut that out, just regular old iron-on, nothing crazy there, and then I cut these apart to place on top to get my spacing, because you want to make sure you allot for that outside so those won't overlap. Then you're going to get it where you want, remove that backer sheet. I definitely pressed it without removing the back paper, so, you know, keeping it real. It was a pre-press, you guys. So then we pressed the second time at 315 degrees for about 8 to 10 seconds. It does not take a ton for this to stick down really well. And then I went through, placed all of those offsets over the top and pressed each section for about 20 seconds. I didn't even do the full 30. And then you're just going to want to know if it's a hot peel or a cold peel. This happened to be a hot peel, so I picked it up, peeled them off, and it was ready to go. The only thing I would do in the future is that purple on purple with the last E is a little hard to read, but I love this. I'm going to live in this when I'm, you know, cozy crafting this winter, and I think it's so fun, and literally the floodgates have flung wide open because I have so many ideas for this. I had so much fun making the Create one that I also wanted to make one for my alma mater. I went to North Central College, and so I decided to take a big NC, cut it out in gingham fabric. So this was a much larger applique or fabric transfer, but it worked just the same. I also did 2 bows, and I did the outlines on all 3 of them. For the bows, I put on either hip when applying it, and it was so easy. It was the same process, but then I ended up just cutting slits up either side in the middle of the bow opening to create this fun little effect. I've seen a lot of people do it with embroidery, but I thought I could do this without my, I don't embroider. And so I did this, and this is so fun. I can't wait to wear it this year to support. Our football team's pretty good, so that will be so fun to wear, and I love when people ask where it's from. I can say I made it. So I'm not overtly saying I saved the best for last, but any project that encompasses my love for the Haunted Mansion and Clark Griswold in the same thing is just the literal best. We are going to make some earrings, keychains, buttons, all the things using shrink plastic. Now to make anything with shrink plastic, it is very similar to the projects we've done before in this video. So I am going to use my little Clark Griswold as an example here. So this is a file that I have available for you. It is Clark cut out. And what you're going to want to do is figure out what size you want your earrings, your pin, or your keychain to be. So here, I want mine to be about 1.5 inches tall. So you're going to take 1.5 inches times 2.49 or 2.5 if you want. So 3.735 is the size I need my shrink plastic to be full size. So when it shrinks down, I'll get this 1.5 inch measurement. So I'm going to size this to 3.73. Now ones like this, you don't need to add an offset, it's just going to cut the shape, but say you had something like this one over here with little bats and stuff, you're going to want to add an offset and flatten that like we did before, so everything is one piece. Then all you need to do is cut these out on the shrink plastic. It's very similar to the other project, so the nice thing is once you have these skills, you can do it. Say we wanted Clark's head to be a keychain, there's going to be an additional step. What I do is I add a circle, then I add another circle, and I'm going to make it slightly smaller. It sometimes helps to make it a different color so you can kind of see. Then we're going to select both, align center, and use the slice tool again. And then you can put this anywhere. You can put it on the top of his head, to the side of his head, and then you're going to make sure it's in the back, and you want to make sure that it is white. Then you're going to select everything and hit flatten. And then it's going to cut out this little hook so you can put a keychain on there. So super straightforward. So just make sure you have the right size. Take it whatever your final size is times 2.25. That's how you get this measurement. And then if you want it to be a keychain, you're going to add this little hanger. And then this says load fine point blade, but we are going to make a tweak to this actually. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go to browse all materials and then material settings down here. Then I'm going to scroll down to the F's to foil acetate and we're going to edit. So we're going to remember this number 323 2 times around. We're going to go down to the bottom and to add new material and we're going to say Shrinky Dinks, save. Okay, so we're going to do 2 times around with the deep point blade. And we are going to change this to the same pressure, 3. So now you're going to have a setting that uses your deep point blade, if you have one, and it's going to be called Shrinky Dinks. I love that type of like custom material. So then when I search shrink, I'll have Shrinky Dinks here, and I just click it. So when the Shrinky Dinks come out of the printer, I like to let them sit for at least 30 seconds to a minute just to make sure what's on there will dry. Now there are clear transparent Shrinky Dinks and these white backed ones. Until today I had only used the transparent ones, but I really like the white ones, especially for these earrings that I'm making. So I will link, I had a multi-pack, but you can get different kinds and I'll have those linked down below. Then you're going to put it on the mat with the brayer, just like we've done every other print and cut one. And then I'm going to set it to that custom setting and we are going to let it cut. Now, if you have watched it go around and you're not sure if it's cut, peel up the edge before you eject the mat. And if it hasn't cut through, hit the play button or the go button again and have it cut again. It'll cut right over the same lines and it will help pop through. Then you should easily be able to pop them out with a little bit of pressure, and then we're going to head to the oven. I preheated my oven to 330 degrees, and I had a cookie sheet with parchment paper in there from the start, so that would be warm. Then I put my Shrinky Dinks printed side up in, and it's going to take no more than a minute, probably 30 seconds. Just depends on how quick it takes the heat to hit the Shrinky Dinks, which with the cookie sheet already warmed up, that helps. Then they're going to rise up. You're going to worry that they're going to be icky, but they will flatten out. And then when they flatten out, I get them out, and then I take a mixture of another cookie sheet and also the parchment paper and just my hand with a hot pad on it, like an oven mitt, and push them down flat while they're still hot, because that's when they're malleable. And then just let them completely cool. Now, I like to finish mine with resin, but before I do, I like to give them a clear coat, so I spray them outside. I do the front and the back, but you can also use a clear Mod Podge if you want, and you could just seal it with Mod Podge if you don't want to do the resin. But I decided to do UV resin because I did it last time and I really liked it, and it's really not that hard to do. You just apply it with the bottle and then put it under a lamp to cure. I had a set that came with a light, but that light broke, so I just am using one that's made for no chip manicures. Then once you do the front, flip it over, add some super glue, and add earring backs or pin backs if that's what you want. And then you put some more resin and set that. Easy peasy. And if you want to do keychains, seal the front and the back. And then I just used some keychain hardware that I had in my stash. I'm going to be rocking these earrings. I love that they're a little bit bigger. I figure if you're going to go with the custom earrings, you might as well like have them be seen so people can see what's going on. These are so fun. I'm going to have some new keychains, and you'll have to let me know down below, have you used shrink plastic and Shrinky Dinks, because I'm obsessed with these and I think I'm just going to be making so many more of these. You could also add glue-on magnets to these if you want to do magnets this way. That's a cool option, but I've got so many cool new earrings to wear now. I hope you loved today's video and you're leaving with at least one project that you want to add to your Cricut must make list. All the details for all the supplies, cut files, all the things I mentioned today will be down in the description. Also down there is more information on today's sponsor, June's Journey. If you're looking for a fun escape or just something to do while your Cricut projects are cutting out, you can scan this QR code or use the information down in the description to download June's Journey and get started playing for free. Huge thank you to you for watching, and if you're new, be sure to hit subscribe before you leave so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video, and make sure you're on my email list so you can get all those free files. All that info, like I said, the description is your best friend. All that info's down there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!